The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
And the other host, Warren Van.
It is Father's Day on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Yeah.
I was a little late getting into the Warren and Bradley studios. I was struggling with my computer, getting irritated by the Wonderwall, having trouble with my Celebrity Minute stories. And then Warren comes waltzing in, and apparently you did nothing with your father on Father's
Yeah, we didn't have
Day.
any plans to do anything. I saw him last weekend. It's probably fine.
That's enough. Once a year.
Yeah, I actually moved, as you know, and I actually disconnected my phone, so I don't have a phone now. Yeah.
Did you tell your family beforehand?
No, I didn't tell anybody.
You just have no way of getting hold of you?
No. You know what? It's fine.
If your family wasn't able to contact you for several weeks, would there be any sort of worry? Would they think that
I would
something
think so.
had happened?
Yeah, I respond if people email me or something like that. Yeah, I get in touch with people.
So people would come looking for you eventually.
Yes.
So if you lived by yourself and you had an apartment by yourself and you were to die, you had some sort of massive coronary or some sort of embolism or something, you collapse in the shower, there's blood everywhere, your ear is just pumping blood.
Yeah.
And how long would it take? Well, I guess you have a girlfriend, though.
Yeah.
So she probably checks up on you every
This
once in a while.
question
doesn't
is
she?
more relevant for you, I think.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, see,
You've been here for weeks.
If I didn't show up for work, people would wonder what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. You never want to get to the point where your body could be undiscovered for several weeks.
Like Lane Staley of Alice in Chains.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, who just OD'd and was in there for days, apparently.
Yeah.
No one knew.
When you're some crazy drug addict hermit.
Yeah.
That's what. Well, the drug addict hermit part might be an indication that things are going badly to begin with.
Yeah, that's the first sign.
Yeah.
Before the death.
Yeah, that's good. I guess that's a good way to judge how your life is going, is would people find your corpse in a timely manner?
Okay, well, this is not good for you then, is it?
They would. I just said, if I didn't show
Because
up for
you
work.
didn't show up for work, someone would be
Yeah.
like, get your ass to work, eventually.
Well,
Would they break down the door?
There'd be a lot of phone calls. I'd be laying there dead as my
Yeah.
body is... This is day one, and this is like 20 minutes after I was late for work, too. I'd be getting phone calls and phone calls and phone calls. They'd give up for the day, and so my body would stay there for probably that day and then that night. And then the next morning, when I didn't show up again, there'd be more phone calls, and finally that
come
day,
break down the door?
somebody would be like, okay, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
And they would come find me. So
But if you didn't have a job, you could be here for
yeah. So I would think at least a 24-hour
a
period.
week. I guess if you didn't have a job, you could be here for a week, because then I try to podcast.
Maybe. I'm
would
trying to think of
respond.
anyone else. I mean, there are people who...
Maybe 2 weeks, because
Try to get
then
in touch
after the
with me
first
every
week, I'd
once
just
in
be like, well, I guess he's not around. And then the next week, I might be like, all right, I guess he's not doing the podcast. Maybe I should call the
Well, you could look
authorities.
from the street. You can look in my window, and if you saw like some sort of cloud of corruption rising from my corpse...
Is that
I
what
don't know.
happens? Clouds of corruption rise from corpses?
You could see the vultures and the...
Well, I might be able to smell something eventually, too.
Yeah.
I could get in here and be like, something don't smell right.
Well, I would think it would only be a few days until people in the building started smelling something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know. It's an old building.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, the way my life is now, I think a day tops, and people would find my body.
Okay.
So that's something to be thankful for, I guess. I did the Father's Day thing.
Yeah.
Had some irritation. Okay. What is with restaurants that don't ever answer the phone?
Oh, because they get so busy?
I don't even know if it's that they're busy, but I was trying to make reservations for Father's Day. There was a certain restaurant that everyone wanted to go to. For days previous to Father's Day, I was calling during business hours.
The Applebee's?
No.
Okay.
Over and over and over. Could never get anyone on the phone. Just kept getting the answering machine over and
Yeah.
over. I know they're open. I know they haven't just suddenly closed and left town. So I left 3 or 4 messages.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Bradley. I would like reservations for this day at this time for this many people. Could you please call me back? Left 3 different messages. Started this whole process about a week before Father's Day. Still never heard back from them. So finally today I was like, well, let's just show up and see what happens. Of course, we show up. It's totally slammed. I go up to the hostess, who, unfortunately, I had dated for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And who then I just kind of stopped calling. Well, she stopped calling me, too, to be fair.
You always spin this in a way like you were rejected, but you're probably mean to her.
No. I wasn't mean.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
This is what happens. Dating somebody, nothing physically happened at all.
Yeah.
We just hung out a couple times, and there was nothing there. There's no rapport. And...
Okay, now I know what restaurant you're at.
Yeah. And so then it just kind of petered out, and that was it.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, women always still kind of have that, well, hello, sort of thing going on. So anyway, I went up to her, and she was like, hello. And I went, yeah. So I tried to call a bunch of times and couldn't get anybody. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, did anyone actually take my reservation? Doesn't look like it. How long is the wait going to be? Oh, at least 2 hours. 2 hours?
Yeah, well, I walked by this restaurant actually before it opened. It opens late.
Yeah.
For some reason, for a breakfast restaurant on the weekends. And I walked by right as it was opening this morning, just coincidentally. Mm-hmm. And there were people just like mobbing the building.
Milling about,
just like and they're going to pound their way in.
Well, it was weird because on Mother's Day, it seemed completely dead. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah.
That's odd.
So then we were wandering around downtown for
2 hours.
Well, for a town that has like a ridiculous amount of restaurants per capita, I couldn't think of anywhere to go downtown. I thought of a couple places, and of course we go there, and there's just mobs of people everywhere. So finally, we ended up going to this brewery, the Chuckanut Brewery.
Oh yeah, kind of down the heart of Bumtown down there, your way.
I had never been there. It was actually pretty good.
I had a Reuben there once. It was all right.
I had a Reuben, yeah.
Did you really?
It wasn't as good as like a Cantor's Reuben from the Fairfax district in L.A., but it was
it's
one of the better Reubens I've
had.
Yeah.
I actually was down there in that area yesterday, and I couldn't think of a place. I was like, I need to get something to eat. And I was kind of wandering around, and I ended up wandering down to the teriyaki place that's down there.
Oh, yeah. I've never been there because it doesn't look good.
Well, of course, one time, a year ago, I had wandered by there, and they were having some sort of fight in Korean in there, yelling at each other. Yeah. And so I was like, I can't go in there now.
Yeah.
Like the family's having a fight. And that was the only time I had ever even attempted to go there. And I went in there, and it was pleasant. People seemed happy to see me, and I had some teriyaki. It was fine. Yeah,
we live in the town of Bellingham, that has tons of restaurants. Most of them are horrible. It's weird. It's like this kind of pseudo foodie city, but the food all sucks. There's a bunch of places that are really popular with people, and then you go there, you're like, oh, well, there's always people here. It's always packed. People rave about this place, so it must be decent. You go there, the food's horrible, the service is horrible, it's way overpriced, and you wonder what's going on. Like, if this were Portland, a city that actually has a really good food culture, these restaurants would not survive longer than a couple weeks. Yeah. It's very strange.
It does tend to be bad, overpriced food, and that's something me and other friends have discussed this in the past, too. It's very odd, especially in a place where there isn't a lot of high-income earners.
No.
It's a service economy with a lot of low-income people going to restaurants that aren't very good and paying a pretty high price for the food. Yeah, it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, I think. That's why when you do find a place that just has basic good food at a reasonable price, you become very devoted to that place.
Like Jimmy John's.
Yeah.
Or Applebee's for you.
Or, I've never been to Applebee's in my life. You're the Applebee's boy. I was going to say the Bagelry.
Oh, yes, the Bagelry. That's right. Have you ever been there?
I've been there
I
quite a few times. Yeah.
So where did you get into? You got into that checking out place, and that was easy to get into?
We went to the brewery. We were there right as the doors were opening.
So you got right in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
We were fine. There was nobody in there.
Because, I'm not a person that will wait to go to a restaurant.
Neither will I.
And this is the other thing, that even when it's not Father's Day or Mother's Day, and you go to the breakfast places on the weekend at about 10 o'clock or 10:30, it's like, why don't you wait on that sidewalk for an hour and a half?
Yeah.
And then you can come in and have some, mediocre breakfast.
I won't do that.
I don't understand that.
What I don't get is, on Mother's Day or Father's Day, days where everybody goes to brunch or lunch or whatever, there are still a bunch of places that aren't open. That doesn't make sense to me. It's like, if that was the one day you were going to open, actually for Mother's Day, my older brother was obsessed with going to this Chinese restaurant on Mother's Day, which is kind of odd.
Yeah.
But we're like, all right, we could try that. So I called them during the week, and I'd seen on their website that it said they weren't open on Sundays, but I called and was like, are you going to be open for Mother's Day? What's Mother's Day?
Yeah.
It's a big holiday where everyone goes to lunch. We not open Sunday. I'm like, maybe you should think about that. And she's like, not open Sunday. Thank you.
This is the same place that got me my food in 2.5 hours, right?
No.
It's a different one?
No. It's a different place.
Oh.
Dragon River.
What?
Dragon River. For those of you who don't live in Bellingham,
I don't know. I live in Bellingham. I don't
it's
know
on
what that
Cornwall.
is.
It's supposedly
it's the place
amazing.
by the e-cigarette shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a place that used to be a different restaurant that served every sort of ethnicity kind of food.
This is supposedly very authentic, very good, like home cooked kind of Chinese food.
Maybe that's not the kind of Chinese food I want.
Well, they do have like an American Chinese food section in the back of the menu for people like you who need their bright red pork.
I knew my bright red sauce on some sort of like fried meat.
Okay, so last week I wasn't feeling too great, but this week feeling a little better.
Well, you know what?
Got
I
out
wasn't
and
feeling
about.
too good last week, and I listened to the episode from last week, and I was constantly like, and that was because I was having like horrible acid reflux for a few days. I was having some stomach issue.
That's what it is.
And it really just brought back the memory of how uncomfortable I was last week, because I kept like coughing.
Was it
weirdly.
a traumatic experience for you?
It was sort of, and I remember I was like, man,
Your cough did sound like that weird where you just have something
it was like really
coming up
painfully
and it was
coming up, right? And I was just like,
I don't think I've ever had acid reflux.
That's weird.
Flux, yeah. Flux. Or heartburn.
That's strange.
Yeah.
Some people just don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't, I mean, maybe you don't eat spicy stuff enough. Or like giant cups of orange juice or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I don't know.
I have had some weird things going on lately. Today, as I was trying to get ready to go meet the family for Father's Day brunch, I don't know if you can even see, but there's this little red dot on the side of my nose.
Oh, yeah.
You can see that?
Oh, yeah.
So this morning I get up, I was like gonna get in the shower, and I noticed this little red dot on my face. And I was like, is this a pimple? What is this? It didn't have like a head on it or anything. It just looked like a red dot. So I kind of like prodded at it a little bit. I was like, I don't know. There doesn't seem like there's anything in there. Went in the shower and like washed my face. Didn't wash very vigorously, I just get a little soap and rub it on there. Got out of the shower and started drying myself off, and suddenly I started noticing drops of blood all over the floor. I was like, what the fuck is this? Where am I bleeding from? And because I was all wet, I couldn't really tell because there was water dripping all over. And I finally look in the mirror, and this little red dot on my face, I'm not going to post a picture, it's just a red dot. If you can't imagine a red dot on the side of someone's nose, it was just flowing with blood, just oozing out all over, dripping all down my chin, got all over my chest, was dripping all the way down to like my crotchile area. It's like, what the hell? So I get a bunch of paper or toilet paper, and I'm trying to sop up all this blood. I hold it there for like 5 minutes. I just covered the microphone with my hand. Yeah. And then take it off. It seems to hold for a second and then just starts oozing out again. This went on for like 45 minutes, where I'd try to put like a little dot of toilet paper on there. It would soak the toilet paper so much that then the dot of toilet paper would just start oozing down my face. It's like, what the hell's going on? I need like what are those called? This
a Band-Aid?
Styptic pencils or whatever.
Oh, the things the fighters use?
Yeah. Or they sell them for people like men who shave with straight razors or something. They get these, what the fuck are those called?
What, razor burn?
Styptic pencils, something.
What do you, and you rub it on there and it like seals the wound?
It's like why can't I think of what that's called? Again, I'm sure listener Jed will write in and let us know. But yeah, it's basically just stops the blood, or it causes blood to clot immediately. Yeah. But yeah, it would not stop bleeding. And so for a good 35, 40 minutes, I just had to soak up all this blood, filled huge wads of toilet paper with blood. And then finally it kind of stopped, and I went and had brunch and everything. And then afterwards I went to go have coffee, and I guess I'd forgotten about it or whatever, and I probably like scratched my face or did something. And I was sitting there ordering coffee, and the person was like, you're bleeding. And I went, really? And then, of course, I could feel it dripping into my mouth.
Ooh.
Can you imagine trying to serve somebody coffee and suddenly there's blood oozing out of their face? Yeah. And the weird thing about it is there's no obvious wound. It just looks like blood is just appearing out of nowhere and dripping into my mouth. It was ridiculous.
It's probably the smoking.
I don't think so. I'm normally not a bleeder. Like, I can get a huge gash and I'll just kind of, nothing, not much happens. Yeah. There's not a lot of blood going on. But I told you about that one time. I don't think we ever talked about it on the show, but there's one time in college, you see that little red dot on my hand.
Yeah, I do see that dot.
There's a red dot on my hand, listeners. And at one point in college, I just scratched it, and it started spurting blood all over the place. And I was filling newspapers with blood because I was just in my dorm room and I was trying to find something to wipe it up with. And
newspapers?
A whole entire newspaper. I was sopping up this blood with. And at one point, my girlfriend at the time came into my room, and I was like sitting there on the floor with all this bloody newspaper everywhere and blood all over me. I don't know what the fuck that is.
That's strange.
It was weird.
Maybe you have some sort of disorder.
I don't know. I'm not a hemophiliac as far as I know.
No, you know that by now.
Yeah, I would think so.
Hemophiliacs rarely get into their mid-30s, and then someone's like diagnosed. Yeah. You were an undiagnosed hemophiliac your entire life.
Well,
just
and
very lucky.
I've battered and bashed myself and cut myself and smashed myself. I don't know how many times. So
just occasionally, a bunch of blood just pours out of you.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean...
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen very often, so it's not a huge handicap, I guess. But I just don't like the capriciousness of it. Like, why are these wounds suddenly deciding to ooze blood? Are you
afraid that this is going to happen any moment now?
No, I mean, it's... the last instance was the weird dot on my hand, and that was... what, like 18 years ago or something, or even longer? 20 years ago? No.
It's like those cicadas that come out every 17 years.
Yeah.
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 Something like that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Wait another 18 years and you'll probably bleed to death on a corner somewhere.
But that's not the only trauma my body suffered this week.
Oh, God. What else happened?
Okay, so the other day, I have my little routine now with my chicken breast fillets that I make for myself every night.
Oh, yeah, I know about that.
And often the routine goes, I get off work, I'm all dirty and everything. I work out. After I work out, I take a shower. And then after the shower, it's been warm lately, so I walk naked out of the shower, and I put on the skillet and put some olive oil in there and some rosemary. I want it to heat up.
Yeah.
So I'll be ready to cook my my chicken breast fillet.
Are you taking notes, cooks at home?
Yes.
Yeah. Be naked.
Be naked.
Yeah.
That's important, especially when you're by an open flame.
Yeah.
So I turn on the burner. And I hadn't put the skillet on there yet, and I mean, I was peripherally aware that the burner was on, but I'm just flipping and flopping all over the place, and not really paying attention. And I sidled up to the stove and was standing there for a second as I was taking some spices off the spice rack, and suddenly went, "Ow!" My penis was at the perfect level to have been right next to the gas burner on my stove.
Really?
And was actually the tip was in the gas burner for a good, I don't know, however many seconds it takes before you notice that your penis is on fire. It hurt so fucking badly.
Yeah.
It didn't blister or anything, but it's all red and weird.
Right in the tip, huh?
Yeah. It's really painful.
Huh.
So don't cook naked. That's my number one tip for this week, especially around an open flame.
Yeah.
Don't put your dick on a burner, even if it's just one of those electric elemental burners.
No burners. There are no burners you should put your dick on.
Apparently the penis is very sensitive to temperature variations. I discovered that.
Yeah, the whole thing down there is. That's why it's always getting bigger and get smaller and everything. Yeah. It should have got...
Gigantic
when you put it by a flame. That should have been your move. Maybe, hoping
it's like one of those, remember those weird sponge dinosaurs you'd get in those little eggs and you put them in water?
Yes.
And they go raw and swell up really big.
That's what you're hoping for?
Yeah. No, well, I didn't do it on purpose.
Sure, buddy. Whatever you say.
There's a couple other disturbing incidences. I've mentioned before how I've been working in the hick town of Sedro Woolley recently.
Yeah. We've covered Sedro Woolley.
The jewel of the Skagit River. Oh, I keep bashing my microphone again. Bear with me. So the job that we're doing is this government program where weirdos get low-interest loans to build a house.
Yeah, they have to help out, right?
They have to help out. They have to put in a certain amount of hours every week. They don't normally do much with us because we're doing the foundations and stuff, and it's kind of hands-off for them, but they do help out with certain things, like when we're pouring the footings and the foundations. For the most part, they're completely useless, and I would rather not have them around at all, especially the crop from the Sedro Woolley area. And we've talked before about the crazy hill people of the Skagit Valley. Granted, most of them are morbidly obese and probably have never done any sort of labor in their entire life. So you can expect them not to be particularly good at anything. But they're so fucking lazy. They're supposed to be helping out with these things, and they're supposed to put in a certain amount of hours a week, but they do absolutely nothing.
Well, the problem is with the incentives that are involved. It's that they're required to put in a certain amount of hours.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the quality of their work is.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going to get fired, you know?
So there's no incentive for them to work, besides for, like, shame.
But it's irritating, because I'm working my ass off, and they're like, "Ugh, this is hard. I need some water." And they'll go wander off, and they'll go drink their bottle of water, and they'll go have their cigarettes. They'll come back, and they keep... One guy just kept taking his gloves off and putting them on over and over and over again. Meanwhile, I'm like sweating buckets and going crazy trying to get this shit done.
So this is just going on during the week. These people are there.
I think they do stuff on the weekends too when we're not there. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But it never ceases to amaze me how incompetent and lazy most people are when it comes to actual physical labor, because most people don't ever have to engage in actual physical labor.
Yeah, especially, I mean, it's one of those things where you're not going to do it unless you have to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see being on that job site too and be like, I'm not going to like bust my ass if I don't have to.
It's the idea too that like, I don't like doing this. This is uncomfortable and it makes me tired. I'm like, yes, that's work. That's what work is. At least to me, that's what work is. And other people, I guess, don't think of it that way. Like,
well,
to me,
a lot of other people are using their brains and stuff to work.
Well, yeah, but if you're doing a physical job, that's what it is. It's being uncomfortable, and it's doing something that's strenuous and difficult for a long period of time. Yeah, but it's so weird how people just like unpleasantness. Oh my god! Like how people.
No, that's normal.
It's not. I don't think it used to be normal.
This is a distinction that like that should be drawn here is the fact that you're like it's unpleasant and bad.
I think this is a modern thing where people are so used to never being uncomfortable ever at all. We've talked about before how people are like, I feel hungry. Oh my god, I feel hunger. Like that's this crazy, horrible thing, and they can never experience hunger, so they have to shove food in their mouths immediately if there's any pang of hunger whatsoever. It's weird.
But no, but the weird part is I think that you insist on like relishing and cherishing this pain.
I don't
and
relish
discomfort,
but I think it's character building.
When does it stop being character building and just gets to be like masochistic? Have we crossed that line yet?
I probably have, but
yes, that's what I think too.
I haven't personally, but what I've experienced, other people would probably consider it masochistic. But I'm fine.
So you really feel like it's character building at this point?
I think so.
You're like, this is very uncomfortable. I don't want to do this.
I think it is a good skill. I don't even know if I'd call it a skill, but it's good conditioning to experience discomfort and realize that you can be uncomfortable for an extended period of time and you're not going to die. But it's also, or it's not the end of the world. It's something that you can do and you can get through it.
It's a good lesson to learn, but it's also a good lesson to learn that at some point you like try to put yourself in a position where you're not in discomfort.
Yes, but I'm not even talking about that in terms of, I'm going to work harder to get to a different place in life. I just mean on a day-to-day basis where people go through life like, oh, it's not 70 degrees and air conditioned in here right now. I can't, this is intolerable. I can't, this is ridiculous. Or the idea
people do work towards having things be more comfortable and easier. That's not like a weird thing to do.
No, but to be completely intolerant of any discomfort ever in your life is ridiculous.
Well, yeah, you can't get through life that way.
Well, a lot of people do, I think.
Well, then they should be happy, right?
Yeah, but they're obnoxious, soft people. Whatever happened to stoicism? We've done this before.
Hard
stoicism.
Like you?
Hard, tough as nails, carved of oak. Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. All right, Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. As I said before, I was having computer issues, all sorts of junk going on. Now I can't even get this stupid thing to open. What the hell's going on? Hello? Open. All right, there we go. First story. This is one that I guess, did you say your girlfriend tweeted this?
Yeah, she just was reading this before I came over here.
Apparently Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, has accused Vladimir Putin of stealing one of his Super Bowl rings from 2005, which I wouldn't put past him at all. But apparently Putin has responded by saying that, well, actually, it was, I guess, his spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, said that the ring was actually given as a gift during Kraft's 2005 trip to St. Petersburg, and it remains in the Kremlin's library along with other state-accepted gifts.
I had a theory about this.
What is your theory, Warren?
My theory was that they met.
Yeah.
And he was like, look at this, I got a Super Bowl ring. Mm-hmm. Show it to Putin, hand over to Putin for Putin to look at it, and Putin put it in his pocket.
Do you think it was a misunderstanding due to a language barrier, or do you think Putin was just using that as an opportunity to steal his ring and pretend that it was being given to him?
I think it was probably a misunderstanding. Vladimir Putin
Well, this is a
like
person who
a barbarous
poisons
person.
people
Yeah.
and, you know,
but I don't think he would
imprisons Pussy Riot.
steal intentionally a famous thing from a famous American.
Well, if you think about it, what's Kraft going to do?
Well, that's the
Kraft-
thing. That's what we got in that situation where he's like, can I have my ring back?
Yeah.
And they're like, what? What are you talking about? You gave it to us? And yeah, he probably just like, fine, I'm rich.
Well, I think apparently Kraft went along with it for a while, but it's only now that he's saying, actually, yeah, he just took it from me.
I think that's probably what happened, right?
You're probably right.
Because I can't imagine any like situation where he's like, look at this ring, and he's like, let me see that, and like pulled it off Kraft's finger and like took it and like ran away with it. That doesn't make any sense. But I mean, it's also, he's a person that just steals from people and abuses people and does whatever he wants. If the people of Russia, if you can stop this man, you probably should.
What does a Super Bowl ring even mean to someone in Russia? I mean, do they even give a shit about American football?
That's the other thing too, right? It wouldn't really matter. Right?
I mean, I guess
like,
it's gold.
This is the ring for American football. But I mean, it's also like he's not going to take it to like a jeweler's and have them
That's
like
true.
melt it down. He's like, I have another extra $100 now, or rubles or whatever.
All right. Next story that isn't really a story. Bindi Irwin, Steve Irwin's daughter, victim of online death hoax. Don't worry, Steve Irwin's daughter Bindi is alive and well despite a jumbled internet search term making its way to the top of a hot search term list on Friday, suggesting that the 14-year-old daughter of the crocodile hunter had died. But actually the teen is A-OK. I don't know. It's weird how these things start. Apparently there was some Twitter post or something saying, or I don't know if it was a hashtag or something, saying that Bindi Irwin died. And somehow it gets retweeted, it gets picked up, and then suddenly people start searching for it, and then it trends in search engines.
Well, then if you start searching for it, it pops up right away.
Well, yeah, and then if you just start typing in Bindi Irwin, which I do on an almost daily basis, and then suddenly died, it's like when you're like, I wonder if this guy's gay, and you start typing his name, and then you have to see gay under it, and you're like, aha! Well, obviously he is, but you never even, search to see.
Well, the weird thing that happens whenever I do that is I hear about some beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to type her name into Google and see what she looks like. And it always auto-completes her name with feet at the end.
Feet?
Like people want to see that.
Are there a bunch of weird
feet.
foot fetishes?
This is what always happens when I'm doing Google.
Can we talk about this? What the fuck is a foot fetish? What is that?
It's just people they like their sexualized feet.
Feet are gross and gnarly and weird.
Well, not beautiful women's feet, apparently.
I mean, they're fine.
But I mean, I guess it's no different.
Of all the body parts to be into, that's just weird.
But I guess if you like legs, right?
I mean, they're fine. I don't fetishize legs either.
You're not
really.
attracted to legs?
I mean, I like them.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Oh, yeah, I like legs.
I mean, but I don't be like, ooh, look at the stems on that.
Really?
Somebody's walking by. No, not really. Unless it's just like, holy shit, like the whole body is just amazing, and I might notice something. But I don't take one body part and fetishize it and concentrate my weird sexual.
You have a more
onto that.
holistic weird sexuality thing. Okay. Makes sense.
But what are they doing with the feet? Are they like yanking them off with their feet or something?
I think they have sites that show their feet. And I think there's things that you can do on the internet where you can like look at just pictures of feet and stuff.
Yeah.
And people doing things with their feet and like, being like, ooh, look
I've
at my
seen
foot.
things where people are like stomping on things, like crushing, I don't know, like they'll get a bunch of pies or something and smash the pies.
Well, that's
with
supposed to be
their
the
feet.
roots of it. It's supposed to have something to do with when you're crawling around as a kid and somehow you're seeing these feet tromping around you, these women's feet, your mother's feet, and that like does something to you. I don't know why it's feet other than that explanation. But if you take a woman's name and type her into Google, you'll see feet autocomplete.
I always see if it's an attractive actress and I type their name in, there's always hot autocomplete. Or naked autocomplete.
Hot?
Yeah.
Is that just because you want to see a hot picture of the person?
Well, I'm not doing it, but if I'm looking up, like, let's say I wanted to look up Kristen Stewart or something. If you type Kristen Stewart, then it'll be Kristen Stewart hot.
Yeah, okay, let's do this in Google. Let's type in Kristen Stewart and see what happens.
All right.
Because I'm curious. Do you remember when we were kids, though, and there was rumors that Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell was always dead?
Yes.
You remember that? And it would go around, and it was always going around.
Okay, so the top ones for Kristen Stewart were Kristen Stewart on the road, Kristen Stewart Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart cheating, Kristen Stewart Twitter, Kristen Stewart Oscars.
Didn't get feet in there.
No hot or feet.
All right, type this chick in.
Okay,
I don't know, it'd be weird if it was the crocodile hunter's daughter.
This is great pod.
She looks pretty young. What's her name? Bindi?
Bindi. Who are we
I guess it
typing
should
in?
be all dead. Bindi Irwin?
We're typing in Bindi. Bindi Irwin.
Eulogy.
Yeah, I guess it is trending. So anyway, she's alive. She's fine. Oh, next story. Amanda Bynes apologizes to Drake, said she could never marry a German.
See, what
I love that
does one have to do with the other?
It doesn't have anything to do with the other. They just decided to cram the two together in this headline. Amanda Bynes has apologized to Drake, saying, "I'm sorry about the tweets I said. I didn't mean what I said. I hope to become friends with him instead of smashing him." That's nice. Earlier that morning, the morning of the tweet of her apology to Drake, she also shared her thoughts on love with her 2 million Twitter followers. She said, "You know you're in love with someone when you don't want to go a minute without talking to them or seeing them. Everybody's made for somebody. You're lucky if you find them or they find you." Mm-hmm. I call that obsessive and creepy, when you can't go a minute without talking to someone or seeing
Well, if it's
somebody.
literally true, yeah.
Yeah, I think she means it literally.
Okay, what is it? Where did we get the German thing?
The German thing, I guess she made another out-of-the-blue announcement via the social networking site Twitter on Thursday, June 13th, saying, "I could never marry a German because I'm Jewish." What prompted such a revelation from the actress is unknown.
She probably just found out about World War II.
I guess Drake is also Jewish.
Yes, I did know that. I know he's had a bar mitzvah.
Do you think she just found out about World War II? Maybe she.
It's possible.
I bet she stumbled across some Discover or History Channel.
Or Schindler's List was on cable
Maybe.
or something, and she was like, "What the hell? What the hell happened here?
Yeah.
Who are these Jewish people like me?"
I wonder if she realizes that the current Germans are not the Germans who perpetrated the Holocaust.
It's true, but I also heard someone the other day on some podcast I was listening to talking about how there's a lot of
There's a ton of
there's a ton of it there.
anti-Semitism
So
in
still,
Germany.
you Germans are bad.
The fact that they outlaw anything to having anything to do with Nazi Party, Nazi imagery, anything means that
there's a big demand
there's
for it.
a lot still going.
Yeah.
You know, your country still has latent anti-Semitism when you have to outlaw something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Because if it wasn't a big problem, they'd be like, if fringe idiots want to goose step
Yeah.
around, it's fine. Yeah, they still hate the Jews. Next story, Robert Downey Jr. calms boy upset at not seeing Iron Man. This is a stupid story.
Well, how would he ever end up talking to a boy who hadn't seen Iron Man?
Actor Robert Downey Jr. may not be a real superhero, but he sure acted like one for a little Massachusetts boy. I picked the story because it's nothing,
Yeah.
but it's supposed to be showing what kind of a good guy Robert Downey Jr. is.
Yeah.
And he may be a good guy. I don't know. He seems like he's pretty friendly. Heather Deno took her 1.5-year-old son, 1.5, Jackson, to watch filming for the movie The Judge, starring Downey in her hometown of Sunderland this week. Downey, star of the Iron Man movie, spotted the little boy and went over to say hello. Heather Dano told Jackson that Downey was Iron Man. Confused because of the lack of the trademark metallic red and gold suit, Jackson burst into tears. The actor put a comforting hand on the boy and calmed him. Heather Deno tells the Boston Globe that Downey was sweet and nurturing, and she could tell he's a dad.
Okay, the 1.5-year-old.
When you were 1.5, would you have any conception of who anybody was?
I think the crime may have been related to something else. I mean,
1.5?
Because if you were 1.5, you don't know what's going on.
No.
You're just like, blah, blah,
Are they
blah,
bringing a
blah.
1.5-year-old to Iron Man?
And
to
the other
begin
thing
with?
is, it's like, the 1.5-year-old apparently knows who Iron Man is, and he sees that he doesn't have a suit on, and then he gets upset.
I think what happened is there's a 1.5-year-old baby who can't even talk yet, I'm sure. She's like, look, this is Iron Man. He has no conception of what she means, but Robert Downey Jr. came up smirking and and he
Yeah.
just started crying because he freaked him out.
because that's what 1.5-year-olds
Yeah.
do. They cry a lot.
Yeah. But good for Robert Downey Jr. We're going to skip this story. Next, from the Associated Press, 3D TV falls flat. ESPN is killing off their 3D broadcasts. Thank God. This whole 3D TV fad.
It's weird, isn't it?
What the fuck was that? Did anyone really think that everyone wanted to sit in their apartments with giant $200 3D glasses on their faces watching Monday Night Football in 3D? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, it doesn't make the experience that much better.
I don't even like it in movie theaters, but I can sort of understand why it's popular because it's a experience that sets it apart a little bit.
Yeah.
You go out and you pay.
Well, it's a gimmick.
It is a gimmick.
I mean, you can't build like an entire network on a gimmick.
Apparently, ESPN says that the decision is a sign that 3D ecosystem is not healthy. There's not enough demand for 3D TV.
It's a weird thing to say.
But
The 3D
electronics
ecosystem.
manufacturers were pushing this so hard for a few years. Like, every TV had to be 3D compatible, and nobody cared. Nobody
Well, no,
bought
it's
them.
the perception, though, in the boardroom.
Yeah.
We're talking to an old white guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? What's next? We missed high definition television. We missed color. He's working at some electronics company. He's like, what? We want to be on the cutting edge of the next thing. And they're like, well, they've been showing things in 2 dimensions the last few years. We're thinking about going 3. And he's like, yeah, we got to do it. Let's push it. Let's get ahead of this thing. Nobody cares, though. Nobody wants it.
Well, it started with Avatar. Avatar became amazingly successful and popular, and so people
But it's
thought,
unrelated to the 3D.
I know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's a correlation causation situation.
Well, good riddance.
It's like
3D
the thing.
TV.
It's like the idea that Shia LaBeouf brings people into the movie theater because he was in Transformers. And that's enough for Celebrity Minute this week.
Do it again because you started too quick.
And this is enough for Celebrity Minute this week.
I think so.
All right, good.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
So as you know, I moved.
I do know that.
I haven't moved very far.
No.
It's a few blocks. But it's sort of... I'm in a different neighborhood now, sort of.
Yeah.
It's a different area.
Uh-huh.
So I've had to transfer my allegiances as far as convenience stores.
Oh.
I used to go to the Cornwall Corner Store,
Uh-huh.
who had an interesting cast of characters. You
Yeah.
know, the weird owner man.
It's a really weird convenience store.
There's the drunk guy. There's a homeless guy that worked there for a long time. A lot of fun-loving people that are friendly to you, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I'm in a different one in Bellingham.
Yeah.
That's... The only person that ever seems to work there is an old Asian woman. I think she's Korean or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't speak very good English. And I go in there and I buy things. She's like, oh, good to see you. And then she goes... And I go, yes, yes, yes.
Is she speaking Korean or is
No,
she
she's
just...
trying to speak English, but it's just
Okay.
high-pitched and like... I can't handle accents, much less really bad accents, so I just smile and nod. Like today I went in there and I bought some Powerade or something, and she was like, oh, you father? And I was like, what? Excuse me? And she's like, you father? And I was like, oh, am I a father? And I was like, oh, no, not me, because it's Father's Day. And I was like, just sidled out of there.
You know what's happening. You're gonna realize that you're engaged to her daughter at some point.
Well, it's weird you start these relationships.
She's asking you if you have kids. Eventually, she's gonna be asking if you're married, and then in some huge spew of language that you can't understand at all, you're gonna realize as you're smiling and nodding that you've agreed to marry her daughter.
You go to Seoul and marry her daughter. I do that. That does happen to me.
Yeah.
People are always like, "Oh, that seems like a nice guy," because I'm always friendly and courteous to adults.
Because you just
and they're like, "You should marry my daughter, or you should date my daughter." Yeah, like my dental hygienist was always like talking about her daughter, who lived in another state, and was like, "You guys should really, you guys should meet." I think you guys, and I'm always like, I don't know. That's
Did you ever
that's
see
fine.
a picture?
She seemed lovely. She seemed fine. I think she had a son.
Huh.
But. I think that somehow I must give off the vibe that I'm like a friendly, good provider or something, even though I'm absolutely not, and I have no interest in providing for anyone. But I went into this new convenience store the other day, and I was buying something, and she had this T-shirt on, the Asian woman did, and it said, across the top, in big blue letters, it said, party. And I was like, okay, I understand she likes to party.
Yeah.
Then below that was an exclamation point, a question mark next to each other.
Okay.
And then below that was...
So it was party with a question?
I guess, but this is like 2 different rows, right?
Yeah.
And then below that was the good time.
Huh.
Was written.
Well, a party is usually the good time. I don't know if it's the good time, but it's a good time.
Does she know? What is
Well,
that?
it's this thing.
It's the Asian T-shirt thing,
It's the
right?
Asian T-shirt thing. They call it English, which is, I guess, a pretty kind of racist term. But it's all the crazy Japanese T-shirts where they think English is cool, and so it'll be like, "You fun now, great, fuck tons," or something like that. And it's all broken.
They
and
throw all the
weird.
good positive words in there, right?
Yeah.
So the good time and party and an exclamation point. I don't know about the question mark. The question mark was weird, especially because the question mark and the exclamation point were not attached to any of the words.
Right,
they're just in between 2 sets of words.
Did you ask her about her T-shirt?
No, because this is the thing. What am I going to do? I'm going to be like, so what's up with the T-shirt? And she's going to be like, and I'm going to be like, oh, okay, that's very good.
Do you think she brought that from home, from the old country? Or do you think
must have, right?
Is there a place in America where you can find these strange pidgin English T-shirts?
I know you can get them on the internet because people think they're funny.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's not an ironist like that, right? She's just a Korean woman that's like running like a convenience store.
The thing I love is that we feel all superior and everything, like, haha, look at these ridiculous little Asians with their crazy T-shirts. But then how many fucking idiot white people get Chinese character tattoos that are just completely fucked up?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that for every website with English phrases where we're making fun of the Asians, there's 10 websites where Asian people are posting ridiculous tattoo pictures.
The tattoos of like, I suck dick is like their like little logo on their arm or something. Like
it means strength.
Yeah.
No, it means you suck dick.
Yeah.
You suck dick all day long.
It's a strange phenomenon, though, right? I don't know. Do you think she ever thinks about it?
I don't know. I mean, she could be the kind of person. I mean, my dad someone will just give him a T-shirt, or he'll find a T-shirt on the ground or something, and he'll just put a T-shirt on. It doesn't matter what it is or what it says.
I do that too.
I mean, and he can read ostensibly.
Yeah.
So I think he would know what the T-shirt said, but he doesn't care what it says. So she might just be like, party? The good time? Sure.
Party!
Whatever.
The good time? I know my brother always gets a bunch of T-shirts because he plays in like basketball tournaments and stuff. And he gave me some shirts once, and I had one that was something for some sort of like Christian basketball tournament, and I would just wear it around because I didn't care. And people give me a lot of like, what's going on there? It
is weird to think that people will, I mean, I guess it makes sense that people will assume that whatever T-shirt you're wearing, you have some sort of connection. Like if it's advertising a music festival, you must have gone to that musical festival or something, or if it's for a particular restaurant or establishment, like the
Hard Rock Cafe in Columbus, Ohio.
Right, exactly.
You've been there.
Do you own the Hard Rock Cafe in Columbus, Ohio?
But I used to have shirts that I would just get at Goodwill or Value Village, and I would just wear them, and they have weird things like that on there, and I get them for 50 cents, and then people would be like, you went to that lake? I was like, I don't even know where this lake is. I just have this T-shirt. And I actually stopped wearing shirts like that because I didn't like having the discussion. Because I don't want to get into it and just be like, no, I'm just like cheap, and I bought a cheap T-shirt, and this like covers my body.
I don't think I have ever purchased a T-shirt at an event. I don't think I've ever done that. I remember, I think what soured me on this is when I was a child, we went to Mount St. Helens.
Oh, yeah.
And I was really excited about Mount St. Helens. It's like, oh my God, we're going to see the volcano. And we got these shirts, and at the time, there were these great, like, ringer T-shirts with the contrasting collar and cuffs. I mean, it's a T-shirt, a crew neck T-shirt, but good-looking T-shirt. And my head was too big to fit through the neck hole in the T-shirt.
Oh, yeah, your weird head. Yeah, that's a problem.
So I remember, I don't know how old I was, probably like 4 or 5 or something. And my head has probably been the same size my whole life, but when I was 3 years old, it looked morbidly out of proportion to the rest of my body, but now it fits my body perfectly. In fact, it might even be too small for my body now. But at the time, it was just ridiculous, weird alien freak head.
Yeah.
And I was really excited because my parents didn't really buy us things like that very often. And it was a really exciting thing to get this Mount St. Helens T-shirt. My brother put his shirt on, and he looked all smug, prancing around in it.
With his normal-sized head.
With his normal-sized hed. And so I can remember struggling for a good 10 minutes, just trying to shove my head through that fucking head hole.
But it was because it had that, like, separate color, different color, right?
Yeah, and it didn't have a lot of give to it. It
wasn't
those things
they're thicker than the rest of the shirt. Yeah. Oh, that's tough.
It was so disappointing.
You know why I don't ever buy into those shirts? Because every time I go to a place like that, like I know when the girlfriend and I were in Northern California recently, and we were driving through the trees, right?
Yeah.
And of course there's shirts there about, look at you drove through a tree, buy the shirt.
Right.
You always look and you're like, what a markup on this thing. You know what I mean?
Well, how much was the shirt that tells
the shirts in those situations are always, at the bottom of is going to be $20, right? Yeah. For a novelty T-shirt like that,
like Hanes T-shirt.
And it's a shitty Hanes T-shirt that costs $1.
Yeah.
With some like iron-on thing on it, and I don't know, something about me. Maybe it was like Dutch blood, but I'm like, I can't do it because I'm like, this isn't worth it.
Well, and who gives a shit if you drove through the fucking tree?
Well, that's the other thing. It's like, I remember I drove through.
Yeah.
And it's not like, and when you're going to wear like a weird novelty T-shirt about driving through a tree.
You wear it to a job interview. And,
you drove through that tree?
You drove through that tree? You're hired.
And the other thing is, we drove through 2 trees, of course. Yeah. So it's like, what am I going to buy 2 shirts?
One for both trees?
Yeah. Or even, I guess maybe the only thing I would buy, maybe a magnet. Those are reasonably priced. And those are good memory.
But then you're going to be a guy with magnets.
You don't like
you want to be a
magnets?
guy with magnets?
Actually, I think I might be a guy that likes magnets.
It's like the spoon. My grandma used to do the spoon thing.
The spoons are weird.
It's all about the spoons.
My mom had the spoons.
And who decides what spoon is the official state spoon? Is there like a state spoon commission?
I don't think there is. I just think that like
What if
there's
there's
rogue
competing
spoon
spoons?
makers. I think there are just like a lot of spoon makers around there making like the Iowa spoon.
Well, because my grandma would talk about it like, oh, I got the Wisconsin spoon. It's like, is that the Wisconsin spoon?
I assume you must adopt a brand.
Maybe.
And they have a certain style of spoon. Because I know my mom had a bunch of state spoons too, and like some spoon holder was like
she had
hanging
this
on the
thing,
wall.
this like slotted wooden thing on the wall where all the spoons, and I remember there were several empty spaces.
Yeah.
And she hadn't filled them yet. And this was before you could just like order state spoons on the internet.
Isn't that weird that those exist?
Weird.
That people are like hanging spoons from their wall?
Yeah.
I guess it's something to do.
I guess. I can think of a lot of better things to do, though.
You know, I'm still trying to go to all the states, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm not bothering to buy spoons when I get there. If I'm there, I'm there.
I knew someone who would get dirt from places he had visited and put them in little jars.
Yeah. It's trouble, right?
Well, you've got these giant mason jars filled with dirt.
Well, it's just dirt.
Yeah, and it looks like dirt from anywhere else. I mean, some of the dirt might have a little more clay content. Some might have a little more like loamy soil in there, maybe some sandier soil. But if
You're going to haul this dirt around the rest of your life?
If you were to pour out several piles of dirt and ask me to tell you which one was Nicaragua and which one,
exactly.
I would not be able to tell you.
Yeah, I don't believe in doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think if you go to Nicaragua, have their traditional like Nicaraguan sandwich or something.
Is there a Nicaraguan sandwich?
I don't know.
I know they eat a lot of brisket or like big barbecue. Well,
get some
barbecue.
Nicaraguan barbecue.
Yeah.
Get
that's
kidnapped
Argentina.
and held for ransom, and you'll have the Nicaraguan experience completely, right?
So getting back to the T-shirt thing, I get a lot of free T-shirts too because when you do construction, there's always like the different companies, the cement companies, the
lazy
pump
fat
truck
woman that are
companies.
like, here's a T-shirt
No.
that I made to honor our relationship.
All the people, like all the reps from the different
Yes.
places, they want you to use their service, so they'll come out and be like, oh, we got some T-shirts, we got some sweatshirts. The problem is that they're all like triple XL because everyone's fucking fat.
Well, they want to fit in everyone.
They don't want to have like, well, I've got a size 38 and you know.
Well, you can always go bigger. You can't go smaller.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if they give me one of these things, it's a fucking tent, and I would have to belt it and wear it as some sort of tunic or something, and that's just not going to happen.
Do you think that kind of advertising works?
I don't know. I mean,
like if you're walking around with a sweatshirt for a particular cement truck.
Yeah.
And people are like, you know what? I was weighing my options at these cement trucks. The fact that you have a sweatshirt on that has one on there.
I can see if there's familiarity, like if you're a lay person.
It's just brand familiarity.
If you're a lay person living in this community, there are two cement companies in this community. And if you saw a bunch of sweatshirts with one particular cement company on it,
You'd
if you
associate
thought that
that.
you needed to pour some cement, you would go, oh, I've heard of this cement company, and you might call that company.
They might send you that way.
Yeah.
I know we have pens as far as marketing materials at my work. Mm-hmm. And we used to people just take them and be like, this is advertising, right? You have the pen. And then my work was like, we're spending too much money on pens. So we don't have any
How
pens
much are
now.
pens?
Not that much.
I wouldn't think so.
No, you wouldn't think it's that much. And
No.
I think we also had some like custom-made hand sanitizer made. Well, it's just a little bottle of hand sanitizer with the logo of the company on it.
It's kind of weird.
And those just sit, right? Because nobody cares about that.
No.
It was a weird decision. I don't know why we have those.
I've never used hand sanitizer.
I don't use it either.
Wow.
I don't see the point.
Well, it's the idea of like this dry rub. Well, it's not dry. I mean, it's a liquid
No,
thing.
I don't
but
like that.
But
Without rinsing?
Without rinsing or
Yeah,
anything? it
I'm
just
not
seems
into
weird to me.
without rinsing. But I'm also like, I'm just starting to learn how to use like lotion though too, because I have that same feeling. I used to have that same feeling about
Learning
lotion.
how to use lotion.
Well, it's like the
Or
idea.
you're putting it in your mouth again.
Yeah, well, the idea that you're like going to take something, right, some goopy thing,
Yeah.
rub it all over your hands, and be like, and I'm done.
I don't do
I feel
the
like I
hand-
should like run water over it, and, like
okay.
rinse it off.
Does every woman in the world just have scaly lizard skin? Why are they all sopping lotion all over themselves constantly? And men never do, for the most part, and we're fine. Our skin isn't sloughing off all the time. We're not shedding our skin like a snake. I don't put lotion on my hands. I don't put lotion on my elbows. I don't put lotion on my kneecaps. And look at how smooth and supple my elbows
it's
are.
beautiful.
They're fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
People started doing it a while back. I don't think people were doing it when we were kids.
I don't think so.
There
And I
wasn't like
think-
a ton of lotion around.
I think it's that thing too, where once you start using it, it's the same shit
have
with
to
the soap
you
and the
have to use
shampoo. It sucks all the moisture out. And so you have to keep applying.
Well, that's true of the lip balms, too.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started on the lip balm.
People get compulsive with the lip balms.
Never used chapstick in my life, and I never have chapped lips. Or this is what'll happen. The first really cold, windy day in winter when I'm working outside, I might get a little bit of a chapped lip.
Yeah.
Or 2 lips, actually. And then, if I just let it heal, I never get chapped lips again for the rest of the winter. What happens is you fill all those cracks in with chapstick, and it can't heal properly. Yeah. And you're addicted to it.
Yeah, and people get hooked on it, right? And then they're always just like taking it out as like a tick, and they're like putting it on constantly.
The madness.
It's one of those things that people just start doing.
Loofing the elbows and all this shit. Like, why do they have such weird, scraggly elbows? It's like, my dog, Maxie. Her elbows were all scaly because she laid on concrete on her elbows all the time.
Women.
Is that what women are doing?
Well, mine's a little dry. Look at it.
I don't know. It doesn't look that bad.
It's not uncomfortable or anything, but it is like dry. Mm-hmm. But it's also fine. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The back of my elbow is a little bit dry.
Yeah, I guess yours do look a little dry.
It's not really a problem.
Yeah.
It's a little chalky back there. But it's not like a medical condition that I need to put some lotion on for. The only thing I get is occasionally my face.
I do a little face.
When I grow, I have like a little bit of a beard going right now. Mm-hmm. And under there, it gets a little bit dry. And it gets weird and scaly and stuff. And when I shave the beard off, I have this weird rash on my face for some reason. And I have to actually put lotion on there to bring that back. But that's it. Sometimes I'll rub lotion in my beard for that reason.
Ball sack.
I've never had a dry ball sack.
I've heard this conversation the other day where people were talking about how smelly their balls get. And how they use... Actually, I think Adam Carolla was talking about this too. They use talc on their balls. My balls don't get that wet or smelly.
My crotch area gets very wet and smelly.
Really?
So I use talc.
Okay, because I have no basis. To me, I hear this and I'm like, what the fuck is everyone talking about?
Yeah, some people get it and some people don't.
My balls are fine. And everyone else was like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and I was completely left out of the conversation.
It's just that whole area down there.
Yeah.
There's the underball, in between the legs, taint area. And... I run hot, as Adam Carolla does too, where I sweat at any heat at all. And that area is so warm in there and so hot and just starts pouring sweat.
Really?
Yeah. And I was always like, so uncomfortable down there. But if you take it, I get a little Gold Bond. Take it, you apply it down there.
Yeah.
It solves everything.
This is weird. This is a whole new dimension of the world.
It's a little medicated tingle.
It's
weird.
Opening up to me.
No, if you talk to... Sometimes you'll mention it to people and people are like, oh yeah, I got that thing. But I don't think I had it when I was like a kid or anything, but I have it now.
That's so weird. My balls are pretty much dry all the time.
And you don't have this like horrible thing going on in there. Yeah.
I mean, if it were 80 degrees and I was out working for 4 days in a row and did not take a shower in those 4 days, which
then
would
it would
never
probably
happen,
get like that.
Then I might get an odor coming from my balls. But it would just be kind of like a musty kind of man odor.
Mine's not an odor situation as much as it's just like a comfort situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. The weird thing is, how do you go about applying it down there?
I don't know.
Exactly.
You just shake it on there?
But how?
I don't know.
Because it's on the undersurface.
Well, what you do is you get on your back on the ground, and have you ever done that thing where you do almost like a headstand, except you just lay with your neck flat against and your shoulders kind of on the ground, and you jerk yourself up so your balls are dangling above your face, and then you shake. Of course, then you get some on your face.
Yeah, exactly. You get some on your face.
Yeah. Well, why can't you just grab the balls, stretch them so the underside is exposed?
The balls being in the way isn't a problem. The problem is that you're applying a dry material that doesn't stick.
Well, does it have like a shaker top on it?
Yes.
Well, then you just stretch it out and you shake it like that onto your... I'm motioning at ball shaking going on right now. Because my ball, I could stretch them out like to mid-stomach if I wanted to.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I guess that could work, and that would like spread around in there when the balls return to their space.
This has been such a far-ranging, excellent conversation.
This is the thing that I do with it, is I'll like go and like stand somewhere, and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to put some like Gold Bond on my taint, and I'll like just like poof, and I have to like put it up there, and then the rest of it will go down.
You put it on your hand first,
and then like shove it up there. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you should do. You know what people do when they're like, I don't know, if they're going to make fried chicken or something, they get a paper bag and they throw the like flour and spices and everything in there. Then they take the chicken breast with batter on it, they throw it in the paper bag and they shake it up in the bag.
Yeah.
What you need to do is get a paper bag, fill it with Gold Bond, put it over your balls and your taint, and then just shake it back and forth.
Okay, where I thought you were going was that you need to get a chicken breast, and I need to put the Gold Bond in a paper bag and shake it around, then rub the chicken breast all around my
Well, you could do that too.
carriage there. Yeah, I know.
I had no idea that you used talc or Gold Bond or whatever.
Oh, I've been doing it for years now.
That's so weird.
I know another friend of ours, at least, that does it too.
I heard the Adam Carolla podcast, and I heard these other people talking about it, and I thought they were aberrant and strange, and that this wasn't normal in any way. But apparently it is.
Like, if I go somewhere, let's say I'm in the South or something, or back East or something, and I do a lot of walking around somewhere, I'm like visiting or something, and I'm sweating constantly, and I'm walking a lot, it gets really uncomfortable down there. Like, bad. And I need the stuff. When I was in New York, actually, even last winter, I was doing a lot of walking around and I was getting sweaty and stuff. And I was like, I went to a Rite Aid in Chelsea and I was like, give me some of that. And I got the extra strength.
And the cashier gave you a knowing look.
They're like, yeah, I know what you're into. I'm like, what would I do with this? And then I went and applied a little bit and I was like, oh, this is great. It relieves everything.
The longer I've been alive, the more I've realized that I'm very lucky in terms of sweating and body odor.
Oh, sweating. Yeah, it's annoying.
I don't have much sweat going on. I don't have much body odor going on.
But
my feet never smell.
Good for you.
My hands do. When I wear gloves all day, my hands smell like feet, but my feet never smell like feet.
I know when we were kids and we'd have recess and stuff, and you go out there and run around for 15 minutes and then come back in and sit down. And I'd always be like pouring sweat, and we'd always have to wear jeans, right?
Yeah.
Because it was for the Lord. It was important that we not wear shorts and be comfortable. And so I would always just sweat, and sitting there trying to get my body to cool down again. And I was just uncomfortable for the rest of the day. Because it was like being sweaty and gross. You know what I mean? When your shirt feels different, when you're like have dry sweat over your body, it just was uncomfortable. And I always felt that way. And like when we had PE in high school, I didn't want to like run around or something.
Just talc up your entire body?
Well, that's the thing. It's like there's no way to do it. The only way to make you feel good and refreshing is to actually take a shower.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's annoying. It's a curse.
It's a hard life, Warren. All right. I think that's enough time for the Warren and Bradley Show this week. I like that last section because we just blathered on for a good 20 or 30 minutes. I don't even know how long. We weren't all regimented with segments and things. I think it's fun to do that every once in a while.
Okay, good.
We talked about T-shirt giveaways. We talked about ball talc.
Yeah.
It was great. So I think that's enough for this week. I've been one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
And that was Warren Van.
Saying...
Talk your balls.
You sick, sweaty bastard.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.